There's a quiet magic to the November garden, a secret that most gardeners tend to overlook. As the world outside begins to slow down, tucking itself in for winter, we're often tempted to do the same, to put away our tools and wait for spring. But I'm here to tell you that November isn't an end. It's a beginning. It's a secret powerhouse, a month of extraordinary potential that holds the key to the most abundant, low-maintenance harvests you can imagine. This is the time to work with the earth, not against it, to lay the foundations for the year ahead. You see, while many are retreating indoors, the soil holds a gentle, residual warmth, a perfect cradle for new life. The crops we'll be talking about today don't just tolerate the cold, they thrive in it. Planting now allows them to settle in, to develop deep, robust root systems without the stress of summer heat or the rush of spring growth. This slow, steady start in the cool, damp earth is precisely what they need. When spring finally arrives, these plants don't just grow, they explode with a vigor that's truly a sight to behold. So forget the idea of a dormant winter garden. Instead, picture a space that is quietly and diligently working for you, even under a blanket of frost. This is about creating a garden that is resilient, productive, and deeply connected to the natural cycles of the seasons. If you want to grow so much food that grocery trips become optional, if you dream of a larder filled with your own produce, then start with these 25 crops in November. Let's get our hands in the soil and begin. First on our list is spinach, and for a very good reason. Planting it now in the cool soil of November is the secret to avoiding that frustrating spring problem, bolting. When the weather warms too quickly, spinach has a tendency to rush to seed, giving you a fleeting, often bitter harvest. But when you sow it now, the chill in the ground acts as a natural break. It encourages the plant to focus all its energy not on flowering, but on developing a strong, deep root system and storing sugars in its leaves. This slow, deliberate growth results in leaves that are incredibly thick, succulent, and wonderfully sweet. All through the winter, the plant is patiently building its reserves. Then, as soon as the first hints of spring sunshine arrive, it bursts into life, producing an astonishing flush of growth long before any spring-sown seeds have even germinated. You'll be harvesting generous handfuls of tender, dark green leaves, while others are just beginning to prepare their beds. It's a truly rewarding start to the growing year. Much like its leafy green cousin, kale has a deep appreciation for the cold. In fact, a good frost is what truly brings out its character. The chill triggers a wonderful transformation within the plant, converting its starches into sugars as a natural antifreeze. This process not only protects the kale, but also sweetens its flavor, mellowing out any hint of bitterness, and giving it a complex, nutty taste that is simply unparalleled. It's a beautiful example of a plant adapting to its environment and becoming all the better for it. By planting kale in November, you're giving it the ideal conditions to establish itself without any stress. The roots will delve deep into the cool, damp soil, creating a firm anchor that will support a robust and resilient plant. This strong foundation means it can withstand the harshest winter weather, shrugging off snow and ice with ease. Come spring, you won't have a delicate seedling. You'll have a sturdy, well-established plant, ready to produce an endless supply of nutritious leaves, making it one of the most reliable and generous crops in the garden. Now, for garlic, the absolute cornerstone of the winter garden. Planting it in November is traditional, but I have a method that will give your cloves a significant head start, leading to faster rooting and noticeably bigger bulbs next summer. It's a simple three-step process of activation. First, we wake them up. Separate your bulb into individual cloves and place them in a jar of lukewarm water mixed with a teaspoon of baking soda. Let them soak for about 12 hours. This softens the tough outer skin and signals to the clove that it's time to grow. After their long soak, we need to ensure they are clean and healthy. Give them a quick dip, just 10 minutes, in a solution of 1 part hydrogen peroxide to 10 parts water. This acts as a gentle disinfectant, clearing away any potential fungal spores and ensuring your cloves start their life in the soil free from disease. The final step is a nutrient boost. Transfer the cloves into a weak solution of liquid seaweed for about an hour. This provides essential trace minerals and hormones that stimulate vigorous root development, giving them the best possible start in their new home. Bunions, much like their garlic relatives, benefit immensely from an autumn planting. The principle is quite simple. A long, slow start leads to a much bigger finish. When you plant onion sets in November, you are taking advantage of the entire winter period for one crucial task: root development. The tops may not show much growth, and that's perfectly all right. Below the surface, the cool, moist soil is encouraging the base of the onion to establish a sprawling, deeply anchored root system that will become the powerhouse for next year's growth. This period of quiet, unseen work is what sets your onions up for success. When the days begin to lengthen and the soil warms in spring, these well-rooted plants are primed and ready to go. They will channel their energy into forming large, substantial bulbs, drawing on the extensive network of roots you helped them build over the winter. This early anchoring is the key to avoiding small, disappointing onions and instead harvesting heavy, well-formed bulbs that will store beautifully and see you through the months ahead. Shallots are often considered the gourmet's allium, and their refined flavor is a direct result of the way they grow. They are not plants that appreciate being rushed. A slow, cool start is precisely what they need to develop their characteristic clusters of deliciously mild bulbs. Planting them in November provides this extended, gentle growing period. The chill of the soil encourages them to divide and multiply underground, forming the generous clumps that we're after, rather than putting energy into excessive top growth too early. Think of the winter as a long, peaceful marination period for your shallots. They settle in, establish their roots, and slowly begin the process of division. This unhurried development results in a far better yield than you would ever achieve from a spring planting. The bulbs have more time to mature and swell, leading to a harvest of large, firm shallots with an exceptional flavor. For a truly superior crop, patience is the key, and a November planting is the most patient approach of all. Leeks are the stalwarts of the winter vegetable garden, and their ability to stand firm through the coldest weather is legendary. To get those beautiful long white shanks, they too need a very long growing season. By sowing leek seeds or planting young starts in November, you are giving them the gift of time. They are perfectly happy to sit in the cool ground, slowly germinating and establishing themselves without the slightest bit of fuss. This cool, slow start is what builds their resilience. This extended period allows them to develop a strong root system before they need to put on significant green growth. As spring approaches, these well-anchored plants will begin to thicken and lengthen, ready for you to begin the process of earthing up, drawing soil up around the stems to blanch them. A November start means you'll have strong, vigorous plants that will grow steadily through the following year, providing you with a delicious and versatile vegetable from autumn right through the next winter. It's an investment that pays dividends for a very long time. While we're on the subject of the allium family, we mustn't forget the humble yet incredibly useful bunching onion, or spring onion as they're often called. November is the perfect time to sow these as well. Unlike their bulbing cousins, we grow these for their green tops and slender white stems, and a winter sowing gives you a significant head start for an early spring harvest. The seeds will germinate slowly in the cool soil, and the young plants will happily tick over during the colder months. This resilience to cold means you can have a continuous supply. By sowing a new row every few weeks through the autumn, you can be harvesting fresh, pungent bunching onions almost year-round. They are particularly welcome in early spring, when fresh, green flavors are still scarce. They require very little space and minimal attention, making them one of the easiest and most rewarding crops to sow in November. They're perfect for adding a fresh, sharp kick to salads, soups, and stir-fries when you need it most. Sowing carrots in November might seem counterintuitive to some, as they are known for their love of warmth to germinate. However, by choosing a hardy winter variety, you can use the cold to your advantage. The cool soil slows down the germination process considerably, but this isn't a bad thing. This extended period allows the seed to absorb moisture gradually and to develop a single strong taproot that will delve deep into the soil before the top growth even thinks about starting. This deep, unimpeded root growth is the secret to perfectly formed, straight carrots. Furthermore, the slow growth in cool conditions encourages the carrot to store more sugars, resulting in roots that are exceptionally dense, crisp, and incredibly sweet. When the warmth of spring finally arrives, these well-established plants will swell rapidly, giving you a harvest of delicious carrots much earlier than any spring-sown crop. It's a method that requires a little faith, but the flavor of your harvest will be your reward. Beets, or beetroot, are another root vegetable that responds wonderfully to a November sowing. Much like carrots, the cool conditions of the soil work in their favor. The chill encourages the plant to convert starches into sugars, which not only helps it withstand the cold, but also results in roots that are remarkably sweet and tender, without any of the earthiness that can sometimes be overpowering in summer-grown beets. Planting in November gives them a long, slow period to establish their root system. This unhurried growth prevents the roots from becoming woody, a common problem when beets are grown in the heat of summer. Instead, they develop gradually, swelling into perfectly round, tender orbs just as spring arrives. You also get the added bonus of the leaves, which can be harvested sparingly through the winter and used just like chard. It's a dual-purpose crop that truly earns its place in the autumn-sown garden. Broad beans are one of the true champions of the autumn garden. Sowing them in November is a time-honored practice, and for good reason. These plants are incredibly frost-tolerant, and the young seedlings will happily stand through the winter, their roots working away beneath the soil. As legumes, they also have the fantastic ability to fix nitrogen, which means they are actively improving the fertility of your soil all winter long, preparing it for the crops that will follow. This early start gives them a massive advantage. They establish a deep and extensive root system that allows them to burst into growth at the first sign of spring. This leads to earlier, more vigorous plants that are often less susceptible to pests like blackfly, which tend to appear later in the season. You'll be harvesting your first tender pods weeks, if not a month, before anyone who waited until spring to sow. There is nothing quite like the taste of the first broad beans of the year. Similar to their legume relatives, broad beans, hardy varieties of peas can be sown in November for a superb early harvest. The key benefit of this timing is disease suppression. The cool, damp conditions of spring can often lead to fungal diseases like powdery mildew, which can weaken pea vines and reduce your crop. However, by starting them in autumn, the plants develop a robustness and resilience that helps them shrug off these problems. The cold soil encourages strong root growth over leafy top growth, creating a sturdy plant structure. When spring arrives, these well-established vines will climb with incredible vigor, producing flowers and pods much earlier in the season. This means you are often harvesting your sweet, tender peas before the peak season for pests and diseases even begins. For an effortless and more fruitful pea harvest, an autumn sowing is undoubtedly the way to go. For those who enjoy a bit of peppery spice in their salads, mustard greens are a fantastic choice for November planting. They are incredibly fast-growing and thrive in cool weather. Sowing them now allows them to germinate and anchor themselves quickly in the cooling soil, establishing a solid footing before the deep cold of winter sets in. This quick start is one of their greatest assets. One of the main advantages of growing mustard greens at this time of year is the significant reduction in pest pressure. The flea beetles that can riddle the leaves with holes in summer are long gone, allowing you to grow perfect, unblemished leaves. You can begin harvesting the young, tender leaves on a cut-and-come-again basis throughout the milder parts of winter and into early spring, adding a welcome zest to your meals when other greens are scarce. Arugula, or rocket, is another peppery green that performs brilliantly with a November sowing. In the heat of summer, arugula is prone to bolting almost overnight, turning bitter and honestly unusable. But when sown in the cool, stable conditions of autumn, it grows in a much more relaxed and stress-free manner. The chill in the air and soil keeps the plant in a vegetative state, focusing its energy on producing leaf after leaf. This slow, cool growth not only prevents bolting, but also develops a richer, more complex peppery flavor without the harsh bitterness. The plants will form dense leafy rosettes that will stand through the winter in all but the harshest climates, maybe with just a little protection from a cloche or cold frame. Come spring, they'll explode into growth, providing you with abundant harvests for your salads and sandwiches long before spring-sown seeds have even sprouted. Swiss chard is, honestly, one of the most productive and beautiful leafy greens you can grow, and a November planting sets it up for a truly spectacular performance. When sown in autumn, the seeds will germinate, and the young plants will establish a deep taproot, hunkering down for the winter. They are incredibly hardy and will survive the cold with ease, often holding their colorful stems and glossy leaves right through the snow. This overwintering process creates an exceptionally strong and resilient plant. As soon as the day length increases in spring, these chard plants will produce thick, substantial clusters of greens. The best part about chard is its cut-and-come-again nature. You can harvest the outer leaves continually, and the plant will just keep producing more from the center. An autumn-sown patch of chard will provide you with a near-endless supply of nutritious greens from early spring right through the following summer. Not all lettuces are created equal. While delicate summer varieties will quickly fail in the cold, there are, many hardy winter lettuces such as Winter Density or Arctic King that are specifically bred for autumn sowing. Planting these in November allows them to germinate and anchor themselves quickly before winter truly bites. They will form small, compact hearts that will sit patiently through the coldest months. This head start is, honestly, invaluable. While the garden is sleeping, these lettuces are ready and waiting. As soon as the first warmth of spring arrives, they will swell and grow with surprising speed, providing you with crisp, fresh lettuce for your first salads of the season. An autumn sowing guarantees an early abundance of one of the garden's simplest pleasures, a fresh-picked head of lettuce, at a time when shop-bought alternatives are often flown thousands of miles. Growing large, tight heads of broccoli can be a challenge, but a November start, particularly for early sprouting varieties, can make all the difference. By planting young broccoli plants now, you are giving them the entire winter to focus on building a strong, extensive root system and a thick, sturdy main stem. This is the crucial foundation that is often lacking in spring-sown plants that are rushed into production by rapidly warming weather. With this solid base established, the plant is perfectly poised to produce a large central head early in the spring. The cool weather helps the head to form slowly and stay tight, preventing it from flowering prematurely. And after you harvest the main head, an autumn-sown plant will have the vigor to produce a prolific amount of side shoots for weeks on end, dramatically extending your harvest period. It's the secret to a truly long and productive broccoli season. Cabbage, like broccoli, benefits greatly from a long, cool growing season to form its dense, heavy heads. By planting hardy winter or early spring varieties in November, you provide the plant with the ideal foundation. The cool soil encourages the development of a robust root system that can support the growth of a large, nutrient-hungry plant. The plant will establish itself over winter, ready to leap into action in spring. This slow, steady start allows the cabbage to draw a wide range of nutrients from the soil, which not only contributes to the size of the head, but also to its flavor and nutritional content. An autumn-sown cabbage has a sweetness and crispness that is hard to beat. When spring arrives, the plant will begin to wrap its leaves tightly, forming a dense, nutrient-rich head that will be ready to harvest well before the summer heat and cabbage worms arrive. Cauliflower has a reputation for being a bit fussy, often failing to produce a head or bolting if conditions aren't just right. A November planting of an early, cold-hardy variety can help you bypass many of these issues. The goal is to grow a large, healthy plant with a strong frame before it even thinks about forming a curd. The long, cool establishment period over winter is perfect for this. By the time spring arrives, you have a big, vigorous plant that has all the energy it needs to produce a good-sized head. The cool spring temperatures are ideal for curd development, helping to ensure a consistent, tight, and brilliantly white head. This method often results in a more reliable and earlier harvest than a traditional spring planting, which can often be a race against the unpredictable heat of late spring and early summer. Parsley is typically grown as an annual, but when you sow it in November, it behaves much more like a perennial. The seeds will germinate slowly in the cool earth, and the young plants will establish incredibly deep taproots over the winter months. This deep rooting is the key to its longevity and productivity. The plant will remain small and unobtrusive through the winter, conserving its energy below ground. Come spring, these overwintered plants will explode with a phenomenal amount of growth, producing huge, bushy plants with a flavor far more intense than their spring-sown counterparts. You can harvest from them continuously throughout the entire following year. A single November sowing can provide you with more parsley than you'll know what to do with, giving you massive, continuous harvests for months on end. It completely changes the way you think about growing this essential herb. Cilantro, much like arugula, has a frustrating habit of bolting to seed the moment the weather gets warm. A November sowing is the perfect antidote to this problem. The cool temperatures keep the plant in a leafy, vegetative state for much longer. Instead of shooting up a flower stalk, the plant focuses on becoming bushier and producing a greater abundance of its pungent leaves. This extended leafy stage means you get to harvest for a much longer period. The plant will establish itself over winter, and then offer up a generous harvest in the cool months of spring, a time when its flavor is at its peak. Sowing in autumn allows you to enjoy a prolonged supply of fresh leaves for your salsas, curries, and salads before the summer heat inevitably causes it to bolt. It's the best way to maximize your leaf harvest from this quick-to-flower herb. Chives are an incredibly resilient and reliable member of the allium family, and sowing them from seed in November is a wonderfully low-effort way to establish a new clump. The seeds benefit from a period of cold stratification, which the winter naturally provides, leading to better and more reliable germination rates in the spring. You simply scatter the seeds where you want them to grow, and let nature do the work. While you won't see much happening over the winter, the seeds will be waiting for the right conditions. As the soil warms, you'll be greeted by a flush of fine, grass-like shoots. These young plants will quickly establish themselves and, by late spring, will be ready for their first light haircut. By starting them in November, your chive clump will reach full production much faster, providing you with its mild onion flavor for snipping over potatoes, eggs, and salads throughout the following season. You know, fast-growing turnips are often thought of as a summer crop, but certain hardy varieties are actually excellent candidates for a November sowing, especially if you're aiming for an early spring harvest. The cool soil allows the root to expand gradually and steadily. This slow swelling is honestly the secret to a crisp, sweet texture, helping you avoid that woody, fibrous consistency that can sometimes plague turnips grown in the heat. Plus, the steady moisture of the autumn and winter soil ensures the root develops without checks or interruptions, which can cause splitting. When spring finally arrives, the roots will quickly size up, giving you tender, juicy turnips that are just perfect for roasting or mashing. And, as a little bonus, you also get the turnip greens, which are absolutely delicious and can be harvested sparingly as the plant grows, providing an extra edible dimension to this humble root vegetable. While we often associate radishes with a quick 30-day crop in spring, there are specific winter varieties like the Black Spanish or Daikon types that are designed for autumn sowing. These varieties are much larger, grow more slowly, and have excellent frost tolerance. Planting them in November allows them to develop their substantial roots throughout the winter. The cold weather actually enhances their flavor, making them crisp and pungent rather than overly fiery. They will stand happily in the ground, ready for you to pull as needed. When spring arrives, you'll have large, juicy roots that have a fantastic texture and storing ability, quite different from their small, fleeting summer cousins. It's a great way to have a reliable supply of this crunchy vegetable for winter roasts or early spring salads. Rutabagas, or Swedes as they are known in some parts, are a cross between a cabbage and a turnip, and they absolutely adore cool weather. They require a long growing season to develop their large, dense roots, and a November planting in milder climates, or an earlier autumn planting in colder zones, is ideal. The key to a good rutabaga is steady, uninterrupted growth. The consistent moisture provided by autumn and winter rains helps the root to swell to an impressive size without splitting or becoming woody. Like many other winter vegetables, the flavor of a rutabaga is vastly improved by a few good frosts, which sweetens the flesh and gives it a lovely buttery texture when cooked. It's a wonderfully rewarding, low-maintenance root crop that will provide you with hearty, nutritious food in the depths of winter. Now for a true long-term investment in your garden's future asparagus. While spring is the traditional time to plant asparagus crowns, a November planting can be hugely successful, particularly in well-drained soil. Planting the dormant crowns now allows them to settle into the soil and begin to extend their root systems over the winter months, long before they are asked to produce any top growth. This extended period of establishment builds an incredibly strong and resilient foundation for the plant. When spring arrives, the crowns will send up their first spears with remarkable vigor. You must, of course, resist the temptation to harvest in the first year to allow the plant to build its strength. But this November head start will lead to a more productive and robust asparagus bed for decades to come. It's a little work now for a lifetime of delicious gourmet harvests each spring. So, there you have it, 25 crops that you can put in the ground right now, in November. It may feel like you're putting the garden to bed, but what you're actually doing is waking it up. you're setting in motion a quiet, powerful process that will unfold over the coming months. This is gardening that works in partnership with nature, not in a battle against it. It's about understanding the rhythm of the seasons and using the quiet strength of winter to your advantage. Trust the process. Trust the soil, the seeds, and the rain. Let nature do the heavy lifting for you. The reward for this small act of faith will be a garden that springs to life with an energy and abundance that will truly astound you. You'll be harvesting delicious, healthy food while others are just starting to sow their first seeds. If this approach to gardening, one that is intuitive, natural, and incredibly productive, resonates with you, then I invite you to subscribe to Nature's Blueprint. We are dedicated to sharing these simple, effective techniques to help you create a garden that truly nourishes. And finally, if you know another gardener, someone who dreams of growing more and buying less, please consider sharing this guide with them. The greatest joy in gardening is not just in the harvest, but in sharing the knowledge and the bounty with others. Thank you for joining me today. Now, let's get outside and get planting.